The United States unilateral attack on Venezuela, that too arresting the president of a sovereign nation, Nicolas Maduro, has raised many questions about the international law, the emerging global order, what are the intentions of Donald Trump, and what will happen next, which are the countries on Trump's radar. So these are some of the serious questions that the recent developments arise. So let me first try to decode or demystify the myths around Donald Trump's action. The first and the foremost argument of Trump is that Nicolas Maduro runs a drug cartel. He presides over the drug cartel, which is a serious threat to United States security and the lives of the American people. Well, Donald Trump has not shown any evidence to substantiate these allegations so far, and it is not uncommon for America to make such wild allegations if they want to attack a particular country or a particular leader. We have an example of Saddam Hussein here. When United States attacked Saddam Hussein, the alibi given was that he has weapons of mass destruction and he poses a threat to US national security. But Saddam Hussein has gone, decades have passed. America has not shown even a single weapon of mass destruction so far to substantiate the allegations which it has made to attack Iraq. On the contrary, our post-Saddam Hussein Iraq has seen the emergence of Al-Qaeda and much more dreaded Islamic terrorist outfit like ISIS, which continue to threaten the national security of the United States. So let me also give you another paradox. Trump alleges Maduro of indulging in illicit drug trade, but the same president of the United States has given pardon to the former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who was convicted for drug trafficking and is facing an imprisonment of 45 years. So on one hand, Trump pardons a former president of Honduras who has been convicted in the illicit drug trade. On the other, he orders the kidnapping of the sitting president of a sovereign nation, Venezuela. So therefore, it cannot be construed as an American legitimate concern behind the Operation Absolute Resolve in Venezuela that led to the kidnapping of President of the Venezuela. Then the second question is, well, the argument not just the United States, but even the Western allies and quite often the Western media argue is that Maduro is a corrupt leader, an authoritarian leader, so therefore he deserves to be punished. But the international law and the UN Charter gives that kind of a power only to the people of Venezuela, not to the United States or not to its Western partners. Well, if that is the case, what kind of relations America is having with dictators across the world? Is Asim Munir not a fundamentalist, fanatic dictator? So he's trying to control the entire Pakistan. What kind of a democratic legitimacy Muhammad Yunus of Bangladesh enjoys? Or the Saudi sheikhs and UAE, Qatar kings, Jordan king, Democrats. So the America has a history of supporting dictators, supporting monarchs, supporting despots who subserve the interest of United States across the world. Show me one single country where America has promoted democracy. They have attacked Guatemala in 1954, Chile in 1973. They have arrested Panamanian president in 1989, 2003 Iraq, 2011 Libya, even 2001 Afghanistan. Did America usher in democracy in any of these countries? So what has actually happened? After 20 years, America has handed over the Afghanistan to the same Talibans, invoking the facade of good Taliban versus bad Talibans. So what kind of consequences these nations are today facing subsequent to the American invasion and American aggression. So therefore these two arguments of drug trade and the despotic regime of Maduro absolutely are inconsequential. Let me also quote the National Drug Threat Assessment Report, which is prepared by the Trump administration, Trump government, Trump dispensations, Drug Enforcement Administration. The 2024 National Drug Threat Assessment doesn't perceive Venezuela as a threat at all. Still, the America chose to attack Venezuela. And now the press conference by Donald Trump and his Foreign Secretary Marco Rubio, his Defense Secretary, made it abundantly clear that it is absolutely not the drugs. As Kamala Harris pointed out, it is essentially about oil. And American president has no hesitation in openly explaining his oil interest, the oil imperialism behind the entire operation in Venezuela. You can also see the video of Trump, Defense Minister and Foreign Secretary of Donald Trump openly talking about the oil resources.
We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country.
President Trump is deadly serious about stopping the flow of gangs and violence to our country. Deadly serious about stopping the flow of drugs and poison to our people. Deadly serious about getting back the oil that was stolen from us. And deadly serious about reestablishing American deterrence and dominance in the Western Hemisphere.
In fact, Trump gives a bizarre argument that the oil industry in Venezuela was developed by American companies. Therefore, the socialist regime in Venezuela, nationalizing the oil resources in their own country, amount to stealing of American property. See the logic. So the problem and the concern for Americans is not the people of Venezuela. It is essentially the most valuable oil resources of Venezuela. Venezuela accounts for 17 to 18% of global proven oil reserves, which is 4 times that of the United States, and in fact more than Saudi Arabia too. And that is not just the oil. Venezuela has enormous gold deposits too. So therefore the first and the foremost reason for Trump's operation in Venezuela is essentially to benefit American oil cartels. And this was what has happened in Iraq, this was what happened in Libya. So it is again repeating in Venezuela. And not just that, so there are other imperial reasons behind the Trump operation on Venezuela.
Mr. President, why is running a country in South America America first?
Well, I think it is because we want to surround ourselves with good neighbors. We want to surround ourselves with stability. We want to surround ourselves with energy. We have tremendous energy in that country. It's very important that we protect it. We need that for ourselves. We need that for the world. And we want to make sure we can protect it.
Well, the second reason for this kind of attack is to ensure the American unassailable supremacy in this region. So this is called the Monroe Doctrine of 1823. Look at in this video what the Trump himself talks about the Monroe Doctrine.
Core principles of American foreign policy dating back more than 2 centuries and not anymore. All the way back, it dated to the Monroe Doctrines. And the Monroe Doctrine is a big deal, but we've superseded it by a lot, by a real lot. They now call it the Monroe Document. I don't know. It's Monroe Doctrine. We sort of forgot about it. It was very important, but we forgot about it. We don't forget about it anymore. Under our new national security strategy, American dominance in the Western Hemisphere will never be questioned again. Won't happen. So just in concluding, for decades, other administrations have neglected or even contributed to these growing security threats in the Western Hemisphere. Under the Trump administration, we are reasserting American power in a very powerful way in our home region.
And he in fact refers to it as the Monroe Doctrine also, stating how Donald Trump has revisited the century-old United States foreign policy doctrine. What is the Monroe Doctrine? It was proposed by President Monroe in 1823, according to which the United States will not tolerate any outsider influence in the Americas. Americas include the North America, the South America, etc. Now the Trump adds to these South America region, the Caribbean region also. So the South America and Caribbean constitute the Western Hemisphere, and the US leaders have made abundantly clear that ensuring American political, economic and military unchallenged supremacy is the essence of America's new foreign policy. In fact, the new security strategy or national security strategy released recently by the Trump administration has clearly mentions this. So the hemisphere, the domination of United States in the Western Hemisphere is the predominant reason behind the present operation in Venezuela. This is evident for the fact that not just the Venezuelan oil, the Trump openly says that he will run the country. Does the UN Charter allow this? So one country openly threatening to rule another country. This is nothing but colonialism. In fact, the Monroe Doctrine said, cautioned European nations of not to meddle in the affairs of Americas. So now that Trump openly says, indirectly, China and Russia not to enter into the Western Hemisphere. And in fact, he doesn't even respect the sovereignty of neighboring countries. Openly says, we will run the country until the judicious transition. What is judicious here? Essentially, the Trump wants a transition that satisfies and subserves American interest in this region. So therefore, is open. Look at this video, what Trump is telling.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do it.
He will run the country, not just running the country. He is even ready for a second wave of attack and even says ready to keep US soldiers on Venezuelan soil. Look at what Trump says in this video on the second wave of attack.
And we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to do a second wave if we needed to do so.
So now see the video in which Trump openly says the America is not averse to the idea of keeping the soldiers on the Venezuelan soil.
Does the U.S. running the country mean that U.S. troops will be on the ground? How will that work?
Well, you know, they always say boots on the ground. Oh, so we're not afraid of boots on the ground if we have to have. We had boots on the ground last night.
So look at, America wants its companies to exploit the Venezuelan oil resources. America wants a regime subservient to it in Venezuela. America wants to rule the country till such transition takes place, and America wants to keep its soldiers on Venezuelan soil. Is this not occupation of another country? You may call it colonialism, you may call it neo-colonialism, you may not call it, but actually it tantamounts to the not just neo-colonial, a direct colonial era exploitation. So this is essentially the second factor to ensure that the entire South American Caribbean will be under the political, economic and military influence of United States is Trump's clear objective in this so-called Operation Absolute Resolve in Venezuela. Then the third aspect is he has also cautioned the global powers, especially in the recent past. The Chinese influence in this region has increased. In fact, several South American nations have signed the Belt and Road Initiative of the run by promoted by China, and under the American pressure, the Panama has even withdrawn from the BRI recently. So Venezuela Chinese investment is mainly when China is the major trading partner of not just Venezuela. For several South American nations, China is the number one or number two trading partner. In fact, 76% of Venezuelan oil, which are under American sanctions, is purchased by China. So China is not just a customer, but the investor in the Venezuelan oil fields. Russia supplied arms to the Venezuela. So Trump wants to ensure that this region, neighboring United States, will be completely free from the so-called external influence, whether it is China or Russia. But Trump is not realizing that such a doctrine gives a license to China and Russia also. Today the concerns being expressed is, what happens if Russia says the same thing? Russia says, I will arrest Zelensky and put him behind the bars in Moscow. Can Trump question it? Can the Europe oppose it? Now Europe has given a very soft statement that Maduro is an illegitimate leader. However, international law should be respected. Such insipid statements are coming from the European leaders. But what happens if tomorrow Putin does the same thing with Ukraine? So Putin has occupied Crimea, Putin has attacked Georgia, Putin has occupied 20% of Ukrainian territory. Today, tomorrow Putin says, I will occupy the entire Ukraine. I will run the Ukraine from Russia because I don't want a regime in my neighborhood which opposes Russia. Does the West have any moral right to question the President Putin if he behaves so? I'm not telling he should do that, but the United States and its Western allies absolutely lack the legitimacy to question President Putin if he resorts to such kind of an invasion, full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Same thing may happen with China. In fact, the Chinese social media Weibo is dominated by messages by Chinese people that this is a template for China to act on Taiwan. Today, internationally, the global concern is China does the same thing with Taiwan. What can Trump say? Even today, the United States is committed to the one China policy. In fact, America and even the United Nations considers Taiwan is officially part of India, officially part of China. But for all practical purposes, Taiwan is functions as an independent nation. China still says it reserves the right to capture it by use of force, because no country, almost the entire world recognizes Taiwan as part of China officially, including the United States. So tomorrow if China decides to integrate Taiwan into it, does the West have any right to question it? So once the law of the jungle prevails, anything can happen. Already Saudi Arabian forces are into southern Yemen. So they want to intervene in Yemen. Can anybody stop it? So the United States today gives a license to other powers to simply bully the weaker neighbors. So there is no respect for international law, there is no respect for UN Charter, there is no utter disregard for national sovereignty. He is going to create a law of jungle, a world full of chaos and anarchy. So the precedent is now the Venezuela. The template is now the Venezuela.